Hey everybody. So now that we're past the halfway point of the season, we're approaching the All-Star break. We have a pretty good idea of where teams are standings-wise. Which teams are good, which teams are bubble teams, and which teams aren't good. So I want to take a look at the standings and talk about which teams are still in it as far as the playoff hunt and hunting for a playoff spot go, and which teams are not going to make the playoffs this year. So we're going to start with the Eastern Conference. In the next video, I'll do the Western Conference, so stay tuned for that. But let's look at the East right now. So over here, we have the playoff teams. You have Columbus leading the Metro with 59 points. Washington tied with them with 59 points. And the New York Islanders with 58. Obviously, everyone on this side of the board they're in a playoff spot, so they're well within the playoff hunt. The question comes of over on this side of the board. These are the teams that are currently out of a playoff spot. So which ones are still in the hunt and which ones are all done? That's what we're going to look at. So again, obviously Tampa Bay running away with the league with 74 points. Toronto's at 60. Boston's at 59. They're all in really good shape. Montreal looks pretty good with 57 points, and Pittsburgh's at 56. When you move over to the other side here, now you have Buffalo. Buffalo is sitting at 54 points, 2 points out of a playoff spot. They obviously are very much still in play. So Buffalo is getting a check mark. They are very much still in play. Carolina at 49 points. There's a good gap there. That's a 5-point gap between Buffalo and Carolina. Carolina has a 7-point gap between them and a playoff spot. So it's a little bit harder for Carolina because that's a decent-sized gap right now. But they've been playing good hockey lately, and they've been making a push. So I'm not going to count Carolina out yet. I'm going to say they're unlikely to get in, but still in it. Give them a check mark. And the Rangers, they're only 2 points behind Carolina. So if I'm going to keep Carolina in it, then I have to keep the Rangers in it, although I really don't think the Rangers are a playoff team. Then there's another pretty sizable gap between the Rangers and down to New Jersey and Detroit, and that's another 4-point gap. Those teams are double-digit points out of a playoff spot, and that is where I am drawing the line. Right between there. The Rangers, Carolina, and Buffalo still somewhat in it, still have a chance to make the playoffs, although I don't think New York has much of a shot. Carolina probably doesn't. Buffalo still has a chance. Also, you could end up with these playoff teams right now being your playoff teams. I think there's actually a very good chance of that happening. But the line is right there. From the Rangers up, still in it. From the Devils down, they're out of it. The Devils, I'm sorry, but they don't have the roster to go on a long run that would pull them back into it. Detroit, rebuilding team, young team, well, old team in many aspects, but either very old or very young players. Not a lot of prime players. Detroit's out of it. Florida, I had Florida making the playoffs at the start of the season. They've been a huge disappointment this year. They're out of it at 42 points. Philly, they suck. They're out. Ottawa, worst team. They're out. So, as far as the Eastern Conference is concerned, I think that's pretty much what it looks like playoff hunt-wise. I think you have the teams that are in it now, and then you have Buffalo, Carolina, and the Rangers who could potentially make a push. Everyone below the Rangers is out of it. They're too far behind. They're more than, they're 13 points back of a playoff spot that Pittsburgh has within the second wild card. You're not going to make up 13 points in less than half of a season. And when you look at what these teams are, none of them have the roster or are good enough to go on a run like that. They're not. I mean, the Devils are a mediocre team. Detroit's a mediocre team. Florida's been a huge disappointment this year. Losing Trocheck absolutely killed their season, I think. Had a huge negative impact on their year. Philly absolutely stinks this year. And Ottawa, I mean, you don't even recognize many of the players on Ottawa's roster right now. They're all out of it. So when I look at the standings right now, that's what I see. And quite honestly, I think that the teams that are in the playoffs right now, Columbus, Washington, New York, Tampa Bay, Toronto, Boston, Montreal, and Pittsburgh, will be the teams that are in the playoffs come the end of the season. Buffalo might sneak in and steal a wild card spot either from Pittsburgh, New York, or Montreal, but I really, really think that these 8 teams will be your playoff teams come April. And that's just the way I see it right now, but these 3 teams still have a shot. Everyone else is out. So with that, that's my opinion on where we're at as far as the playoff hunt goes and who's in it and who's not. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media, check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links are in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.